Alex Albon is a driver that is thriving right now in Formula 1. Some of his performances have certainly made us sit up and take note of what a good driver he actually is. I feel like when you talk about, good consistent drivers, I feel like Albon was overlooked by a certain number of fans, myself included in fact. I think this year I really have took note as how good and reliable and how solid he can be in a Formula 1 car. And he's even linked with a big move in the future. But Albon's career in Formula 1 hasn't exactly been plain sailing, and there was even a point he wasn't even going to be in Formula 1 at all. So I thought today I want to be talking about the rise, the fall, and the rise again of Alexander Albon. So I'm not going to talk about Alexander Albon's entire career. I want to start off at a specific year, and that year is 2018. Now, he's just finished P3 in the standings in Formula 2 behind Lando Norris and George Russell, and he's just signed a contract with the Nissan Formula E team. Now, straight away, he's obviously thinking, there's no drives for me in Formula 1. Russell, he's going to Williams. Norris, he's obviously going to McLaren. Other seats have been taken at this point, so there wasn't really any other seats. He used to be part of the Red Bull Junior program, but he got dropped in 2012. He hadn't had no links with any other Formula 1 teams in terms of being with an academy. Sponsor-wise, he had very little sponsors. At the very start of 2018, actually, he was on a race-by-race contract for the first 2 rounds before he eventually had enough sponsors to be able to complete a full season. And it was a similar case in the lower junior formulas as well. Once he left Red Bull in 2012, he didn't have a lot of sponsors, so he, any race, his next race might have potentially been his last race because he, like I said, he did struggle to find some sponsors. So despite finishing P3 in the F2 standings, it looked like Albon was going to go over to Formula E for the 2018-2019 season. However, he would be thrown a lifeline by the team that dropped him all those years ago in Red Bull, because a seat became available at Toro Rosso alongside Daniel Kvyat. So he gets the drive at Toro Rosso for the 2019 Formula 1 season, and already in round 2 he scores his first points of the season in a very good performance at Bahrain. However, in the following round in China, he has a big shunt on the start-finish straight during qualifying, and because of that he has to start from the pit lane. So not off to a good start there, but during the race he will put in one of the performances of the season, from starting in the pit lane to finishing in P10 and also collecting driver of the day along the way. And I think that was the race that a lot of F1 fans and pundits alike looked at Albon and went, I think this guy has a lot of talent. He did show that in the lower ranks at certain points, and coming into Formula 1 there was a bit of unexpectation on him. What is he going to do, what's he going to be like? He thought he was going to go to Formula E, driving a Formula E car, then driving a Formula 1 car. It's completely different, but Albon's already showing that he can adapt quickly, and he's putting in the performances to show for it. And then we get to the Hungarian Grand Prix. Albon has scored 16 points so far this season, putting in some decent performances. Of course, he's not going to get any amazing results. Toro Rosso is a midfield team at this point, so he's not exactly expected to be at the front. However, the front will come calling a lot sooner than he anticipated, because Red Bull dropped Pierre Gasly after the Hungarian Grand Prix, and replacing him was Alexander Albon. So he's went from Formula E bound at the start of the year. Now he's driving at a top team with Red Bull alongside one of the best drivers on the grid in Max Verstappen. So it's just accelerated so quickly for him. So the rise continues for this young driver. He put in a stellar debut performance, finishing in P5 at Belgium, and for the remaining 8 rounds after that, he only finished outside the points once, and that was when he got hit by Hamilton at the Brazilian Grand Prix, which he might have went on to win that race had that incident not have happened. So because of them decent performances, Red Bull decided to sign Albon for the 2020 season, and straight away we're all like, this is going to be a good year for Albon. We know Red Bull want to get back to the front. Albon had to perform much better than Pierre Gasly, so let's see how can he handle the pressure throughout the course of a whole season. He had a decent race in the opening round at Austria, and again, like Brazil, he nearly won the race. But who was the driver that stopped him from doing that? It was Lewis Hamilton once again. He spins into the gravel, rejoins, but he has to retire the car due to damage caused by that accident. And this is where we start the downfall of Alexander Albon, because in the next rounds, Verstappen got 6 podiums on the bounce. He got 1 race win in that time. Albon, however, didn't get a single podium, and his best result was a P4. He had a few crashes as well. He wasn't anywhere near Verstappen in terms of qualifying and in the race. He even got lapped by Verstappen in Portugal, and in Imola he was running in 5th place. race, but he went too wide onto the gravel, spun the car, and ended up finishing in P15. So the pressure was mounting up on Albon, but he did get 2 podiums that year. But we know with Red Bull, that is not enough. He needed more podiums. He needed to be closer to Max. But they weren't expecting to be, on the pace with Max, but certainly a lot closer. And when you're getting lapped by your teammates in a quick car, it doesn't bode well, does it? So you really need to step up to the plate. And I think for me, the moment where Red Bull decided that they will be dropping Albon was when he dropped the car in FP2 at Bahrain. He totally wrecked the car. And I felt like that was the moment where Red Bull just went, yeah, we can't have him in for 2020, for 2021. If they hadn't decided already, I certainly think that was the moment they went, yeah, we need to look for another driver. And it was inevitable, because on the 18th of December 2020, Red Bull announced that they'll be dropping Alexander Albon in favour for Sergio Perez. He dropped down to the reserve driver role for 2021, and he would go off to do, DTM and other races like that, and even actually managed Yuki Tsunoda in his debut season for AlphaTauri. So, he was still always there in and around the paddock, but in terms of driving, that's where you want to be in Formula 1. And I think, again, similar to how when he signed that contract with Nissan in 2018, I think we all thought, that's it for Alexander Albon. There's no seats available for him. Where is he going to go? Who's going to take him on? But thankfully, he did get a second chance in Formula 1, because on the 8th of September 2021, Williams announced Alexander Albon as a driver alongside Nicholas Latifi for 2022. His friend George Russell is going to Mercedes, so therefore it left a seat vacant at Williams. And I think Russell was one of the protagonists to convince Williams to sign Albon. Anyways, Red Bull did say that they were looking at getting Albon a drive elsewhere, and Alfa Romeo, and I think it was just Alfa Romeo and Williams were the 2 teams that they were talking to. But thankfully, I think because of some good convincing from George Russell, like I said, a very good friend and someone that was backing Albon in 2020 by saying, he is a good driver, he should be on the grid. I just think Red Bull is just brutal, in my honest opinion. I completely agree with them. And I feel like this is where we start the rise once again of Albon, because he's not at the front no more. He's at the back at a Williams. And this year they were very, very slow. 2021 was a solid year for them. Like I said, they got a good podium with George Russell at Belgium of all places, if you remember that race. You got in Q3 a handful of times that year, and Russell just outdrove that car completely. It wasn't going to be the same for Williams in 2022. And one word I want to say as well is pressure. Because when Albon was at Red Bull, he had so much pressure, he just didn't deliver on that, and I think he buckled under that pressure. It wasn't for him at that point, it was probably too early in his career. So Albon being at Williams, there is no pressure, he's free to do wherever he wants, within limits of course, and then of course he can just go out and drive freely, doesn't need to put any decent performances in. They've got the slowest car in 2022, so all they can do is go forward. So if you're in and around 11th to 13th or 14th, that is a decent result for Williams. Anything more than that is a bonus, and Albon did do that on a number of occasions, and because of that he got a multi-year deal signed for 2023 and 2024 as well. So future secured in Formula 1 with Williams. He had to cut ties with Red Bull. He was still linked with Red Bull in 2022. There was even a rumour that Red Bull could even bring him back for 2023 if needed, but he's completely cut off ties with them now. He's just a solo driver for Williams. And in 2023, he's thriving even more so. He's just putting in some decent performances. And one notable performance throughout the course of the weekend was the British Grand Prix, because in practice, he was near the top of the timesheets. In qualifying, it looked like he was going to get a front row start. It really, really did. But unfortunately, he just missed out and got a P8 start. And he had a decent result as well. I think he's finished in P10 that race anyway. So this year, he just went up another level for Albon. And like I said, I think this year is the real beginning of Alexander Albon's Formula 1 career. So let's see then what the future holds for Alexander Albon in Formula 1. Where do you think he will end up in the future? Do you think he will go back to the top with a top team? Will he go to Ferrari? Will he go back to Red Bull? Will he even go to Aston Martin in the future? Let me know what you think, guys, in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching. We'll bring the end to this video. If you have liked what you've seen, then please drop me a like and hit that subscribe button as well. Comment below about anything about I've said in this video with Albon. Do you think he will return to the top? Do you think that these performances is worth of a top driver, or do you think you need to see more from him to be able to go off to the next level? Or do you think that is it? Do you think Albon's had his chance? He's not going to get another chance in Formula 1 at the top, and you think, we should all stop talking about it really and just move on to the next driver perhaps? Let me know what you think, guys, in the comment section below. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.